The media industry can be a bit fickle, so to meet someone who managed to stay creative and relevant for over 30 years is quite impressive. Today's guest can tell us a lot about what it really means to work on radio and TV.
I'm Eramelinda Boquer, and I'm a weather specialist on the Andrew Carter Morning Show, as well as producer of Solo in the City, both on CJAD 800. I'm also a community activist, and I'm very passionate about creating change, both in art and media, and also making a difference in my community.
Eramelinda, I said it correctly.
You said it great. If I had $1 for every time I had my name mispronounced, I'd have a lot of dollars.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Well, it's a very original name. Do you know what the origins are?
It's Spanish. My mother's parents were from Barcelona. They were from the north of Spain, and it's a Castellano, because when you speak Spanish in the north of Spain, you have to the F.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's from the north of Spain.
Right. And if you go there and you try to just speak regular Spanish, some people aren't too happy about that.
They throw pile at you.
Yes, I remember that.
I'm joking. They don't do that. They don't.
But I remember, people feeling a little bit like, oh, okay,
But they sound so completely different. I was in Barcelona 2 years ago, and it's one of the most beautiful cities in the world.
Right.
It's stunning. The art galleries, the food, the people, the men.
The churches.
Oh my God, the churches.
Yes. Yeah, I remember.
The men in the churches.
The men in the street, wherever they are.
They're so distinguished, and they have such attitude. It's nice.
Well, you've lived other places from Montreal. So before you adopted Montreal as home, where did you live before?
Well, I was a bit of a gypsy because when you work in radio, I work in radio currently. I work at the CJAD as a weather specialist, but lived all over the place. Lived in Los Angeles. I was born in Akron, Ohio. Lived in Ottawa. Lived in Princeton. Lived in Florida for a while. I did art history at Trinity in Dublin. So travel is great because you just learn different attitudes. It takes you out of your comfort zone. You eat different foods, you fall in love with different things.
Right, with different men.
Yeah, with different men. Millions and millions of, no.
Well, you've been part of Montreal's media scene ever since you moved here. And it's been a long time. I was looking at your bio on LinkedIn, and you've done everything.
Well,
media.
It was funny because I started working in radio when I was 15, and then I left it. And I always wanted to get a theater degree, and I was in the States, and I came up here because theater in Canada, university in Canada at the time was just so much cheaper. It was like $25,000 in the U.S. and it was like $7,000 here. So it was, okay, I'm going to come here, and I came to Quebec. And but I was about a year and a half into school, and I really missed radio. So I contacted, I think it was Ted Silver, who was at Q92, which is now the Beat, and I did a demo and threw it in, and I just thought, well, nothing's going to happen, and he hired me. And then after that, I actually had to have an operation on my feet, so I was out of work for a while. And then I threw in a demo to Shome, and Ian McLean hired me to come and work at Shome. And while I was at Shome, the Weather Network opened up a Montreal office.
Right.
So I went to work there. And then I've worked at Global, I've done CFCF, and I've done, within my career too, I've gone back to the States, I've done animation, I've done commercials. Wow. So it's sort of a media potpourri, as it were, a stew of media.
And nowadays, you're back on the radio.
Well, I'm very excited. I had an opportunity to come back and work on the Andrew Carter Morning Show as a weather specialist. And I love that because I go out every morning and I call it the Mobile Weather Center. It's a fancy name for a van. I like to think it has like satellites, but no, it's just, I have a Comrex unit, and so I go out and I do the weather, and I get to do different community events. I'll go to Sun Youth, or I'll go to the Ukrainian Week, and Black History Month. So I get to travel. But recently, I started working with an amazing woman. Her name is Cheryl Besner.
Okay.
She is a lifestyle host, a lifestyle coach, and a radio show host extraordinaire, who is helping guide people through the treacherous waters of dating. And I've just recently signed on as her producer, and it's amazing. She's a great partner to work with, and the show is so exciting. The listeners are just in love with the show, so it's a wonderful experience.
Are you also getting dating advice through the show?
You know, I learned a lot about dating. I really did, because I used to be like, I don't know if you've ever seen the film The Runaway Bride, but The Runaway Bride is Julia Roberts, and she always runs away because her problem is she always adapts herself to the person she's with, and I was like that. It would be like, you like race car driving? I love race car driving. You want to go to a wrestling match? Oh yeah, Hulk Hogan.
Really?
I love him. He's amazing. You know, and then I realized, because she's a love style coach.
Okay.
She's an original. There is no other love style coach. And so I learned that you have to style your love life like you would style your wardrobe. And you have to figure out what you like. You have to figure out what you like about yourself, and then what you want from that other person. So no, I don't like wrestling anymore, and I don't want. Well, car racing is great because it kind of comes with some pretty,
Oh, there you go.
you know, handsome race car drivers and stuff like that. But no, I like her whole concept of styling your love life, because, I mean, if you're going to spend all that time figuring out how to decorate your home and your clothing, your hair, why wouldn't you style your love life too? That just makes absolute sense.
That does.
So I'm discovering my love style.
So when you take on new shows or new projects, is it based on the topic? Like, for example, in this case, you thought, okay, this is a show about dating. I'd love to be part of that. Or is it more with the people that you're working with? Like, what inspires your commitment to the job?
In broadcasting, it's always about the people. It's about like the crew. The crew. It's because the crew is your family. Like in radio, you know, your producer, your technician, it's the family. It's about the experience. Since I started doing solo in the city, it's a lot about the people. The people who are, you know, that Cheryl is coaching, and the groups that we're meeting. So it's an education. You're never bored. That's what I like about broadcasting. That's what I like about media. That's what I like about it the most, is that you're always learning new things. That, you know, the education comes to you.
Right. And do you prefer the back end or being in front of the or on the radio?
Well, if I had a makeup artist like I did today, I'd be on camera all the time. I don't normally look this good. But to be honest, I've done a lot of on-camera work. I did TV series, I've done film, but now I love the behind the scenes. I love creating. I love to give a show a skeleton and a body and the flesh and the makeup. It's a bit like, you know, when we talk about love styling, it's the whole form. It's about building something.
Right.
So right now, I'm very happy, because it's like empire building, you know, and right now I'm working on the Solo in the City empire, and it's a great challenge, but that's how I met you too. So,
That's true.
You know, I think it's a wonderful combination of being creative, of meeting new people, and of staying young and energetic, because you're fed so much excitement and newness every day.
Right. For me as well, like one of my favorite parts of it is that I get to meet people all the time. And even though the goal is to inspire, you know, viewers, I get inspired every time I meet someone new, every time I interview someone new, and I learn through them, right? So I feel like that's one of the perks of meeting all these new guests all the time.
Well, let me ask you, because, you know, we're talking a bit about love style, so I'm gonna interview the interviewer. How would you describe your love style if I were to get you on Soul in the City? What would you say your love style is like?
I would say it's an adventure. I mean, you know, when you were talking about always kind of adjusting to the person that you're dating, for me, I like learning new things from the person that I'm dating. So it's important for me to date smart people.
Yes.
So that's my style. Instead of paying tons of money to go to school, I date smart people.
That's very good. But that means you have to have a team or a harem.
Well, I mean, luckily, my husband is one of the smartest people I've ever met.
I met him. He was taping in the show. Yeah,
so he's
fabulous.
always teaching me things, even when I don't want to. Half the time when I don't want to, I'm always learning. So that's been my style in terms of the men that I've dated up until now. They've been really smart men.
Yeah. But you must like the people too. Like when I go out and I do the live weather and I get to meet Montrealers of many different stripes and different professions and especially the community, the people that do the work in the communities, the Sid Stevens with the Sun Youth, the Adrian Berkovicis with Generations, the Melpa Kamateros with the Shield of Athena. That is one of the most outstanding things. You realize that the heart,
Right.
I just hit my microphone, the heart that is in my city, and that's why I love to do what I do, which is why I'm sure you love to do what you do.
Definitely. Well, you've managed to be very involved with quite a few organizations. Can you tell me a little bit about the Generations Foundation?
Well, Generations Foundation was founded by Adrian and Natalie Berkovici, and they saw a need, I think it's over 20 years now, maybe 25 years ago, that many Montreal school children went to school hungry, and this is a tragic thing in a supposedly very wealthy city. And we found out, through studies that children who go to school hungry, they don't pay attention. They naturally then, they get in trouble more often. And feeding a child should be one of the most basic things. So
Right.
they're out there collecting food all the time. They not only collect food, they help kids with clothing. When they go back to school, there's, backpacks full of school supplies. They're extraordinary. They're like grandparents to 8,000 school children every day.
Wow.
And the other organization that I love Sid. It's hard to pick favorites, but I've been working with Shield of Athena now, which is a multicultural women's shelter that serves women and children victims of domestic abuse. This is our 25th year this year. And Melpa Kamateros and Politsonis and all the people, the women who work at this shelter serving women. Imagine you come to this country and you don't speak the language and you don't have friends and you don't have the finances. Imagine these guardian angelesses, I just
Right.
made up that word, who come along and they say, we're going to help you and we'll get you a lawyer in your
Right.
language and a social
Resources.
worker. And they're actually beginning a second stage now, so that, because you can only really stay at a shelter for about 3 months, they're going to start a second stage now where women can transition and live there for a year. So it's just, this is a city of angels. It just
Right.
is.
Shield of Athena, you've been working with them for a long time.
Yes.
Why is that particular organization so dear to your heart? Because it's been over 10 years?
It's been 15 years now.
15 years.
Because growing up, I was a victim of family violence. I was
Okay.
beaten as a child, and I was in an abusive relationship. I was
Okay.
also a victim of domestic abuse, and it's interesting. There's a lot of judgment. You hear victim blaming and stuff, and I didn't talk about it for a long time because I felt you feel it's like your fault, you're ashamed, and ironically, I started working with the Shield about the same time I was getting out of a very bad relationship.
Okay.
And I saw what they did, and I saw the women that were empowered. I saw the women, who looked after them and the complete and total nurturing. And I said, it was a healing thing for me too, because I'd been to therapy, but I'd never really sort of thought about it and why it happened. And then
Right.
when you work with women and you realize there's a lot of, across the country, it's a pandemic of domestic violence and family abuse.
And a lot of people don't talk about
Yeah,
it.
and we don't,
Right.
and so we're talking about it right now, and this is
Right.
awesome. We're not hiding it anymore. And you know what? When you talk about it, it becomes small. It becomes small, it becomes powerless, and it doesn't have any effect on you. So I'm here to empower women and children with the Shield to say, like, you can get out of this, you can have a great life, and it's not your fault.
Right. And that's the important part,
Yeah.
right? It's not your fault. Especially for children, they tend to think that it is.
Oh, yes, absolutely, and they internalize. So actually, the
Right.
Shield has an art therapy program for children, which is
wow.
amazing and heartbreaking. And, it's funny, anytime I'm looking to bring someone on board, I just have to show them, one of the pictures of these children, and it's like, no,
for
but
sure.
that says more. Those pictures that those kids did,
Right.
with like the picture of the dad as the monster and them
Right.
hiding in a corner.
It says a lot.
It's more powerful. You don't even need words for that.
I think it's amazing that you find the time to be involved with all these organizations and then still work on these shows and these various projects. How do you find the time to balance it all?
Well, I think that when you work at what you love, both in, the community and with your job, it doesn't become a job. It becomes fuel.
Right.
And it just makes you want to get out of bed every day and try something else, try something new. I'm always learning something new on the job, working with the Andrew Carter Morning Show.
Right.
We have so many experts on the show. Working with Cheryl is like a dream experience on Solo in the City. I mean, You can't ask for better. You know, getting to do cartoon voices.
I love to do that. I just like to be someone else.
You know, it's just. I have a lot of different people in me, and they all have lots of shoes. No, I enjoy the work, so it doesn't become work. It becomes just part of my blood, my life.
Right. Well, yes, it seems like it's a lifestyle for you now, because, I mean, for anyone to do that for as long as you have is quite impressive. I mean, the media, especially being in front of the camera, people, you know, tend to feel like it's a very, well, not short term, but it's difficult to have a long career in that. And so, do you have any secrets for that?
Let's talk about the elephant in the room, and that is, you know, there is in the media, we talk a lot about ageism,
yes.
you know, and you know the fact that you know there seemed to be for a while, just you know they'd be getting rid of a lot of the older people, but
right.
we've come to realize now it's not age, it's attitude.
Oh, you think so?
It is.
I feel like you're giving some people a free pass by saying that.
But I think yes, obviously, you know, television can be an unforgiving medium, you know, and you know, there's Botox has
it's getting more and more high def. I mean, it's
yes, exactly. I'm actually having special effects today. There's a green screen behind me, and they're doing this thing. But no, to have a longevity in this career, you have to have enthusiasm and attitude.
Okay.
It's because this business, whether it's age, whether it's men or women, whether it's a change. When I started in radio, it was a cave painting, and then Marconi came along, and then. But what it is, it's you always learn new things. About 2 years ago, I knew nothing about social media. Now I'm Snapchatting and Instagramming and Periscoping and, you know. But once again, when you learn new things, and I find too, for someone in my age group, you know, we have a lot of value because we have institutional knowledge and we know things. So I find now it's great because I work with young people like yourself, and it's a great exchange because you teach me new things, and you'll teach me new things about art and fashion, industry, because I know that you focus on women and strong women. So I'll learn that from your perspective, and you'll learn from my experience. But frankly, I don't feel my age at all.
Okay.
You know, depending on the party the night before. But, you know, I have to say that I always feel young because I always feel like there's something else to do. I think you lose in this business, if you start to lose your enthusiasm and you lose your curiosity, that's when you become obsolete. You always have to be next step, next step, next step.
Okay, so it's more.
I'll be around like when I'm 100. We'll be having this conversation from behind my walker.
Hey, no problem. Why not? You'll have a new perspective.
Oh, my walker is going to be like blinged out, I'm telling you. It's going to be like diamonds on it.
So that's, it's interesting, because I have to admit, that's the first time that I hear that it's not so much about the age, that it's more about the attitude. So with the right attitude, one can have a longer career.
Absolutely. You know, one of my favorite poets, Maya Angelou, once said, if you don't want to be a doormat, get your rear up off the floor. And a lot of people, it's an industry where you can be bullied because it's very, very competitive. It's like swimming with the sharks.
Very competitive.
So you have to have, I think it's a combination of having a strong attitude, knowing who you are. It's a bit like, actually, Cheryl's been teaching me not only how to style my love life, but also this, you style your career.
Right.
That's another thing for Cheryl to do now, styling the career. But you style your life.
I need to get Cheryl to coach me.
She's a very, Cheryl Besner, she has a good attitude. And that's it, you've got to learn how to style yourself and reinvent yourself.
Right.
And always have the attitude, like anything else in life, you know, you go to family reunions and there's some people who kind of sit in the corner like that. And then there's people like me. It's like, I own this room. That pumpkin pie is mine. You know, you have to own it. You always have to own it. Never bully, but always be there. And yep, I'm a force to be reckoned with. You know what I'm saying? You know, you always have to be a force.
Right.
Be a hurricane. Nice little category for.
I like that. Yeah. Be a hurricane. I feel like that should be on a T-shirt. Well, on that note, thank you so much for the advice. I appreciate it.
And thank you for having me on this. I love this sofa.
This Victorian couch.
This is great. And thank you for what you're doing for, you know, the women in the city and for anybody who watches this online, because it is, you know, it's funny. People think, oh, everything's fine for women now. A lot of the world, it's not fine. If
exactly.
we're not going to pick on places, but you know what you're doing is empowering women, and I feel more powerful sitting here with you today. I certainly do.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you to you guys for watching another episode of Couch Talk. See you next time.
Wish to see you, wish to see you, many all the colors. Wish to see you, wish to see you, many all the colors.